Kia ora team, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jason Naylor, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm a wedding photographer turned business mentor and coach. I help other wedding photographers and creatives build and sustain a six-figure business that gives them more freedom, more flexibility, and the ability to do the things they love in life. How cool is that? If you like the sound of that, hit the big red subscribe button. I want to share with you a really simple but really effective way of taking your Lightroom catalog, your big huge Lightroom catalog, and breaking it down into smaller chunks for editing. I love the thought of doing this for two reasons. And the two reasons are this. Firstly, chunking. I'll build a whole nother video another day on the concept of chunking, what it means and the benefits it brings you. But suffice to say, smaller, more actionable pieces of work. Secondly, I can work on my laptop, or someone else can do the work for me. They don't need my desktop, they don't need my iMac, they don't need my server, my NAS, wherever the hell my photos are. They can work on their own laptop. So I can outsource the editing for a particular wedding, or even better, a particular part of a wedding to another person. Could literally be my wife upstairs, and I'll show you exactly how I do this. So hang around while I show you how I export smaller chunk from Lightroom and bring it back in again.
I'm opening my Lightroom catalog here. Now, I appreciate that everyone might manage their Lightroom catalog slightly differently than me, but I like to keep all of my work for an entire year in the same catalog, just so I can easily find things, I can refer to things when I'm entering awards, when I am submitting weddings to publications. I just like to have it all together. And I make pretty judicious use of the concept of collections. And you'll see here that for a given wedding, which is Zoe and Miles' December wedding, I've got a whole lot of collection sets here. Create a collection set. And so as I drill down into my collection sets, I've got a to cull, a to edit, a to check, a to export, and a done. So if we look in our to cull collection set, we've then got collections. And these are collection sets that I have not yet finished culling, or what I actually call as a curation. I have not yet curated that to decide what I'm going to do. But you can see how I've broken the day down into these little wee chunks. If we go into to edit, I've got groom prep and details. And then I've got some that I've actually already finished this process for. And I'm looking to bring these, I've brought these back into this main catalog. And what I'm going to do now is check over them. And then I've got some that I've done and they're ready to export. Some work that I've actually completed. Bridal prep, family photos, I've actually gone and finished everything I need to do here. So this is one of the ways that I like to break down my work, is I break a wedding from 600, 700, 800 photos once they're curated down into anywhere from 5 to 10 different collections. And I work through those collections one by one. As I say, I'll take you through the concept of chunking and why I do this at another stage. But the reason for that is that it just gives me smaller pieces of work that I can manage. For purposes of today, and for what I'm trying to show you here, the key feature that you need is a right-click, export this collection as a catalog. That is what you're looking for. You want to export this collection as a catalog. Now, you can do the same thing at a folder level. So if you're the sort of person who likes to move files around and you culled or you curated or your picks into certain folders and you work in folders, sure, you can right-click and you can export this folder as a catalog. But I like to use a collection, so I right-click and I export this collection as a catalog. This tiny little collection of only 44 images, I'm going to export it. Alright, this is now my Dropbox folder, and this is my processing editing folder into the wedding, and I'm going to just give it the exact same name as what my collection is over here. So I'm just going to type in O2 groom prep to edit. O2 groom prep to edit. It doesn't really matter what you call it, you just need to call it something that resonates with you, and it's simple for me to keep it the same as that. Now this is important. See these checkboxes here? The first thing is I do not want this. I do not want to export the negative files. I don't need the negative files for what I'm about to do here, but I do want smart previews, and I want to build them or include ones I've already built. So if I was trying to make this export process a little bit quicker, I would have gone through and created smart previews for all of these files. And then I'm also going to include my available previews. My available previews in this case are potentially a few one-to-ones, but a bunch of standard previews, which means that when I open this on another laptop, I will see these files properly. I'll see the thumbnails or the previews of these files. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to export that. Save it. You'll notice that it's pretty quick. If we have a look at what it's doing, it's just building smart previews that didn't exist. So when I said that some were there, I lied. There's a few that were missing. But that's the key thing about that, is that it goes and creates them because we want those smart previews. Those are critical to what we're doing here. Wonderful. That is now done. That is finished exporting. We're just waiting for that final little bit to finish and we're done. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to have a look in Windows Explorer. And in Windows Explorer, I've got my Zoe Myers wedding folder and I've got my Groom Prep to Edit folder. And if I have a look in here, you'll see another Lightroom catalog, exactly as I called it, with a bunch of previews. This is the secret. You'll notice that it's in Dropbox. You'll notice that it's already synced. It is good to go. The entire size of this catalog for this particular part of this wedding, this chunk, so to speak, is 105 meg. 105 meg. That's synced in a matter of seconds, if not minutes, pretty quickly for me on Fiber.
So now what we've done is we've got this nice little small chunk or piece of work. It's a tiny little catalog. We can now open that catalog on any other instance of Lightroom because we exported it to Dropbox. It means it's there. It's ready for me on my laptop. Let's go upstairs and sit on the couch. Alright, so now I'm upstairs on the couch on my tiny little MacBook Air. Yep, I'm going to edit on this. And no, I'm not connected to the server, I'm not connected to my NAS. I'm just working with that little Dropbox catalog that we just exported. Let's get into it.
Alright, I've now browsed, found and opened that smaller Groom Prep to Edit Lightroom catalog on my laptop. And you'll see here, I'm in a different catalog now. And you'll notice that Lightroom cannot find my drive. Can't find my drive with my raw files on it. It's just not there because it's not there. I'm on my laptop, I'm working somewhere else. And you'll notice that when I drill in and have a look at these collections, I've only got the collection I need, which is this Groom Prep one. All those other to cull, to edit, to check, to export done, they're all gone. All I've got is the files that I need. So I'm going to jump into this particular collection. And I've got 44 files I need to edit. 44 files, the editing I need to do in these, you're probably talking about half an hour maximum, something like that. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this, alright? You'll notice that I was able to open, touch, edit, do anything I wanted with every single one of these files, even though I don't even have the raw file, and that's the power of the smart previews. You'll also notice that it was pretty quick. To be perfectly honest, I'm in there looking at these, and I'm doing whatever I need to do with these files pretty quickly without any kind of hassle. Jumping between the files, running my cropping, editing things, changing my sliders, and it's actually no issue whatsoever. I don't even have the raw files, but the smart previews are where the power lies. So I'm now done with the editing of all of these files. Now, I wouldn't pay attention too much to what I actually did during that process. That was not my process. That was me just making sure. That was me just making sure that I went through and I edited all of these files in some capacity, in some way, so that they had all been touched. The truth is that my editing process is a little more linear and a little more regimented and a little more specific than that. But these are essentially, for purposes of this demonstration, where I want them to be. I'm going to go and I'm going to make one really important change here. And this is just a little memo for myself. I'm going to come over to this collection. I'm just going to rename it. And rather than being to edit, it's going to be done. It's a little memo to myself that I have done the work that I need to do on this particular collection. I can now close this catalog, let it sync with Dropbox, and go back to my main computer.
I've closed it. It's syncing with Dropbox. Now I'm going to head back to the office.
And I'm going to do a little wee thing here that I like to do for myself. Again, not critically important, but it's just a little wee cue, a little wee reminder that I've done this work. So I'm going to go and I'm going to rename this folder. I'm just going to say done. Because often what I have is I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 folders down here of all the work, all the little chunks of work that I need to do for that wedding. And I like to know which ones are done and which ones I'm still working on, which ones are still to go. So I've just renamed this one to say done. Fantastic.
What we're going to do now is we're going to import that back into the main catalog. The wonderful thing about the way that export and import works on Lightroom is that it'll just update everything it needs to update. It'll make changes to all the files or the collections or whatever it needs to and nothing else.
So now we're back on the main computer in our main 2020 catalog, right? Nothing has changed in this catalog because all the work I did was in that other small little chunk of a catalog. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go File and I'm going to import from another catalog. That's the key part here. Previously we did an export, we edited the catalog, now we're going to import it back in from that catalog. Really simple. I find it in Dropbox. You remember that I renamed it as Done, so I knew it was the one that I had completed. And I simply double click or select that catalog file there that I was working on previously on my other computer. It'll pop up a little wee thing like this, and there's a couple of settings that we just want to ensure we get right in here. So firstly, you'll notice that 44 photos have changed. That's right, there were 44 photos in that collection, and I edited all 44 of those photos. I was very, very careful to ensure that I did that. So 44 of those have changed. There are no new photos. I haven't added anything here. Wonderful, that's what we want to see in this case. Then there are changed photos. 44 photos are changed. What do you want to do? Lightroom's saying, what do you want to do with those changes? And what I want to do is I just want to update everything. And what I want to do is I just want to update the metadata in the develop settings. So I don't really care about the negatives. To be fair, I didn't have the negatives. I did nothing with those negatives. I'm not going to change those negatives, but I do just want to update the metadata in develop settings. And I don't care about the old settings, so I'm going to untick this box. See this box? Preserve old settings as virtual copy? Not important. The old settings, however they were in this master 2020 catalog, are irrelevant because I didn't touch those or edit those in any capacity. So we're going to go and we're going to import that. So we're changing the metadata in the develop settings and we're not preserving the old settings. It'll do its thing, depending on how much editing you did, how many changes you made to the images and how many images there are. Depends on how long it'll take. And the eagle-eyed amongst you would have noticed that these images look slightly different now. And if I come and I have a look at my collections over here, I'll see that Groom Prep to Edit still exists. It's got 0 files in it. And Groom Prep Done is this one with my edited files in it. So if you remember when I changed the name of the collection, this catalog saw that as essentially a new collection. All those files are now in that collection, not in the old one. So that is done. It is now ready for me to check. I'm going to drag that over into my to check collection. And I'm going to go and I'm going to delete the old Groom Prep one. Don't need that anymore. So now that particular chunk, that particular piece of work, it's done. It's ready for me to check and move into my export collection. In case you're wondering, back here in Dropbox, this folder with this catalog in it, it's kind of redundant. It's kind of irrelevant now. It means very, very little because I've re-imported that in. And so when I do that, part of my process is to come in here again. It's just a little cue for me and to rename that to say imported. Again, sometimes I forget it, but by looking at my main catalog, I can always tell exactly where I'm at. But by doing this, it's just a little cue that this particular work is done. And this collection, i.e. catalog, is sitting there and is of no value to me. Now, I have a little bit of a habit of I keep that there until I've finished all the editing. It almost serves as like a secondary or third or maybe fourth backup of my Lightroom collections, just in case something ever goes wrong with my master Lightroom. Never has done, but just in case, I know I've got that there if I need it. But it's ultimately going to get deleted very, very soon.
And there you have it, a really, really wonderful way of chunking down your work, getting it into smaller catalogs that you can go and edit on the couch, on the laptop, somewhere else. You can even outsource it. Then you pull it all back in, and wonderful, your massive big catalog of your whole entire season's worth of work is all still there. I love the idea. Does it work for you? Let me know.